subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to get all my latest writing tips and videos. And remember, be original. Be a writing original. What's up everybody, Adrian here. This is going to be a multi-part video talking about who should have creative control when it comes to making a movie. We're going to look at the movie studio owner, board of directors, the CEO, the producers, the director, the talent, and most importantly, my personal favorite, the screenplay writer, and figure out what are their roles and who should have creative control, because you have all these movies that are being ruined by having too many cooks in the kitchen with different recipes, and they're all fighting to get their ideas out, and then you got all the hierarchy, and I don't even know how all this works. So I looked it up, I did some research on it, and hopefully I can break this down in a little bit more simple terms. So let's get right into it, but I did not forget, shout out to all my writing originals out there. So now we can begin the video. So let's start at the basics right at the top. You got a movie studio. Now what is a movie studio? This is the best definition I could find in existence online. So let's start it like this. A production company is one individual legal entity that produces movies. They source the literary property, package the film, and get the movie made by assembling the team and by making the movie from start to finish, which also entails securing distribution. A production company may make one or many films. So that's on a small scale. A movie studio is exactly the same thing, just on a grander, bigger scale. So a film studio is an individual legal entity that is generally also a production company, making its own movies under its own brand. That's the key right there. A glorified rental facility and brand that has everything one needs to make a film, which rents or leases out office space, chairs, phones, tables, production gear, and other facilities to other production companies, producers, writers, and directors, some of who may produce films under their own separate brand, or who may have a deal with the studio to form a joint production. Also have their own marketing, advertising, publicity, and legal department, restaurant, catering, and other crew departments, including lighting, electrical, sound, stage, etc., blah, blah, blah. Whereas production companies alone do not have all that extra stuff. Top film studios also have their own sources of distribution, which are generally larger than distribution sources secured by independent, smaller production companies. So now you know what a movie studio is. And now let's talk about who wants to own this movie studio. Okay, this is going to seem really complicated because it is, but I tried to break it down in simple terms, and I'm going to do my best, and I hope I got it right. So who owns a big movie studio? A conglomerate. What's a conglomerate? It's a large company composed of a number of smaller companies called subsidiaries, engaged in generally unrelated businesses. For example, a conglomerate, a media conglomerate, is a company that owns numerous companies involved in mass media enterprises such as TV, radio, publishing, motion picture, theme parks, or internet, or non-related. So they can own it. But what makes up a conglomerate? Subsidiaries, which is a daughter company, I'm sure you heard of that, is a company that is owned or controlled by other company, which is called the parent company. So multiple companies form a conglomerate. The subsidiaries can be a company or a corporation. Now, what's a corporation? It's even smaller. Corporation is a company or a group of people or organization authorized to act as a single entity, legally a person, and recognized as such in law. Now, this is who all buys a movie studio. In basic layman's terms is, you could have a guy who's born a billionaire and just decide to buy a gigantic film studio or start a production company, but he can't run it alone. He's got to hire distribution company, an advertising company, some partners, and a corporation holds shareholders. We'll get into that. So all these people that he needs to hire, because he ain't gonna work the lighting himself, he ain't gonna work the advertising himself, he ain't gonna work the copyright or the publishing or all the cameras and equipment. You gotta hire all those people. So, he'll pay them all, and all these like distribution companies, they're like, okay, we'll work for you, but we want a little piece of the pie. So then they gotta, form together a subsidiary, another company. So multiple companies hired by this one billionaire guy forms, that's one option. Another option is there is no one guy, one billionaire guy. There's multiple billionaire people that own companies that form a conglomerate. They all join in together and be like, hey, you want a piece of the pie? Well, join me. So you could have like a big media conglomerate who owns who have a bunch of billionaires owning TV, radio, publishing, a theme park, an internet, app or something, and they all join forces and be like, well, we are all conjointly going to own this big movie studio, and we're going to control what everything is being put out. So, kind of like how I think Disney, when he started the Disney company, it wasn't called Disney, it was called something else. I forget what it was. It was based off the street that the movie studio was on. But the Disney guy, he didn't have enough money. So he had a distribution company that joined him, and then some other company joined them. But then as the Disney company took off and started making billions and billions, the Disney guy was like, listen, we don't want these other guys that helped us in the beginning. We don't need them. We're going to buy them out. And we're going to form, and he formed a more personal, family owned with his brother and his family, a Disney company, and then he named it Disney Incorporated or whatever like that. And he kicked the other guys out. He bought the other distribution companies, and he said, hey, we're rich enough now where we can have our own distribution company. We can have our own, catering or, movie equipment. We can buy that on ourselves. We don't need a third party. We can kick all the middlemen out. So you see what I'm saying? Or I forget, Columbia was bought by one rich billionaire, but then the PepsiCo Corporation bought it off of him. So PepsiCo was a gigantic conglomerate, and they own all the different Viacom and whatever other media companies and other endeavors throughout the globe. So they all put their money in, and that's just a simple example. So now let's continue. So now we're moving down the chain. Let's talk about the board of directors. They are very important. Should they have creative control? Let's find out. A board of directors is hired by the movie studio. They are a collective group of people to ensure the company's prosperity by collectively directing the company's affairs whilst meeting the appropriate interests of its shareholders and stakeholders. So that's the big point I'm trying to make with the board of directors. Who is on the board of directors? The owner, but also a collective group of people that represent a conglomerate that have stake in the movie studio. That all those companies that joined in and put in some cash, now they're called shareholders, stakeholders. So they want the movie company, based on the product and the movies that they put out, to succeed. So the board of directors are hired to figure out, okay, what's the best climate for this movie? Let's do a lot of AP testing and screenings, and then figure out the tone, or what kind of movies should we be putting out? Should we be putting out political movies, social movies, that stuff like that. So they report, the board of directors reports kind of to the constituents of the conglomerate or the owner or the owners that jointly, have stake in the movie studio. Now, this board of directors hires one guy, and he reports to them. He is called the Chief Executive Officer, or the CEO. He reports to them. And they get to decide whether he's doing a good job. And based on his input of what movies he should be putting out and filming and, what he does, I'll let you know. But they get to decide if they should replace him, if he's doing a good job, stuff like that. Does he get to make all the creative decisions? Let's check it out. So the CEO is the highest ranking executive in a company. They make major corporate decisions, managing the overall operations and resources of a company and acting as the main point of communications between the board of directors and corporate operations. You see what I'm saying? AKA the executive producer EP, the head of a studio. The executive producer is someone who finances a film but isn't 100% involved in the day-to-day creative process during production. For short films commissioned by businesses, this may be the CEO who signs off on the project. So he does have to sign off. And he receives pitches from the agents who are selling their film scripts. So there you go. His job, he's not 100% involved in the day-to-day operations, but he gets to make some decisions on what movies they should be picking to make. And he reports back to the board of directors based on what movies they kind of want to make. And if the movies do good, if they make a lot of profit, then he gets to stay. But if he's not making money for the shareholders on the board of directors because the movies are bombing, then he's going to be replaced. Now, a movie agent or a talent agent reads a lot of scripts and he hands it off to the CEO, executive producer. So the movie agent is the talent agent or the middleman between, the CEO and the script writers. He reads the movie scripts and picks the ones they like and then hands them off to the executive producer, aka CEO, in most cases. So who should have creative control? Keep asking yourself that because we're trying to figure this out. So if the CEO wants to make a movie about whatever, he can't just pick a movie. I mean, he can. But if the movie bombs, then he has to report back to the board of directors, and the board of directors will be like, well, you're not doing a good job, or we need to go in a different direction, different tone, and we want to go in a different social direction, or a different whatever direction, because the shareholders that put all this money in want to see a return profit of $1 billion a movie. So let's continue. Okay, and we're going to finish part one with this. So now the CEO, because he's not involved 100% in the day-to-day procedures, he has to hire somebody who is going to be involved 100% in the day-to-day movie making and all that and stuff like that. So he hires a producer. You heard of the producer. There's tons of different producers. We'll, pick that up in the next video because there's all these different producers and, we have to sort all them out. But a producer hired by CEO is what? He is hired by the executive producer to ensure the movie is made correctly and that everything goes smoothly. They create an initial budget and runs the logistics during productions. He's the hands-on guy. In a sense, they're the equivalent of a project manager in a modern company. So this producer who reports to the CEO, who he reports to the board of directors, who they report to the shareholders conglomerate or the owner of that big movie studio, this producer guy has to hire a staff, a production staff. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video because he's There's a lot of them under him. So should he have creative control? Should he decide, like, oh, what, the type of direction a movie should go in? And the tone it should go in? Because, all these movies that bomb all have a reason, because, like I said, there's so many cooks in the kitchen trying to put their creative input in. And, that all gets messed up. So, that's what I got for you in this video. We'll pick it up in part 2. Please like and share this video, and see you next time, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like, share this video, hit me up on Facebook and Twitter, comment down below. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and also check out my other videos. And I hope to see you next time.